Hello and welcome to another episode of the GBG podcast, this one for 17th of October 2020. This is Dave talking here, welcoming you to GB Gaming, where video games come first. And this is a fairly stacked episode today. I've got a lot I want to talk about. Some personal stories and some news pieces from the world of gaming, with one exception in the world of film. So I'm going to be talking about the PlayStation 5's user interface. I'm going to be talking about Analogue creating yet another clone console, this time in the form of the PC Engine. We'll get more into that. I'm going to briefly mention my Hallowe'en Special, which I have now planned to come out on the 31st of October. I'm going to talk about the fact that I have discovered some new music that I am now a fan of. I'm going to talk about the fact whether or not I've decided what console to buy for next generation first. Going to be doing a little bit of Game of the Year discussion. Going to be talking about Bethesda and whether or not they will be full-on Microsoft exclusive since their acquisition by the company. Going to talk about Disney for just a brief moment as well, and I'm going to talk about Mass Effect coming into the conversation again regarding a potential remake or remaster. I'm going to talk about games that I'm excited to play on one of the next gen consoles that I've decided to go and buy. I'm going to talk about some Xbox launch titles, and I'm going to talk about what I've been playing recently. So that's pretty much the rough idea of what today's topics are going to be. As I said, this is for the 17th of October 2020. Halloween is right round the corner, another 2 weeks away roughly. I personally cannot wait. I absolutely love Halloween. The only thing that sucks is that we won't probably have any trick-or-treaters at the door. I am not anticipating any due to the situation that we have found ourselves in all over the world. So this is Ireland included. But the first thing I want to talk about is, just to get out of the way, this whole Disney thing. I'm going to talk about Disney. It's more specifically Disney Plus and Aladdin. Do you remember Aladdin? That Disney classic that came out in the very early 90s, probably. I can't remember if it was 1993 or 1994. It could have been either of those. I really don't remember. I think it might have been 1992 actually. So I'm currently looking it up. 1992. 1992's Aladdin is on Disney Plus. I don't know if it's recently been added to Disney Plus, but Disney Plus have done something on the beginning of their film, specifically Aladdin, and a message will come up and will say, this program includes negative depictions. And actually, do you know what, I'm going to give a little bit of context. There are some outdated cultural depictions in some of Disney's films, and that's obvious. Things are going to happen at a certain time, and years later it's not going to age very well. That's just life, that's the way things are, and Aladdin was no different. In 1992, Aladdin came out. There were certain cultural depictions that were included in the film, or at least referenced in the film, and Disney Plus has decided to offer a warning over these depictions rather than outright remove them. But there's a little bit of a contradiction there to be had. So basically, Disney Plus offered a warning over quote-unquote outdated cultural depictions in their classic films. And this doesn't include just Aladdin. This also includes Lady and the Tramp, The Jungle Book, Dumbo, The Rescuers, Fantasia, plenty of others. And even Toy Story 2 is after getting edited as well. So basically what it is, and I'm quoting this from IGN, it says, Disney has updated their content warning on Disney Plus to an unskippable 10-second message in front of controversial movies or shorts. And it reads, the program includes negative depictions and or mistreatment of people or cultures. These stereotypes were wrong then and are wrong now. Rather than remove the content, we want to acknowledge its harmful impact, learn from it, and spark conversation to create a more inclusive future together. Disney is committed to creating stories with inspirational and aspirational themes that reflect the rich diversity of the human experience around the globe. To learn more about how stories have impacted society, please visit www.disney.com/Stories Matter. Now, this is them basically covering their arse because they have basically controversial, outdated things in their films, and it ranges based on the film itself. And I am referencing Aladdin specifically here. And when I said contradiction, I basically mean that they posted this message in front of Aladdin, but even though their version on Disney Plus still has a line removed from the opening song, the mumbling that Aladdin does on the balcony as well, that scene where Aladdin basically says to the tiger something along the lines of good tiger, go away, or something like that. Apparently it was misheard as something else, something along the lines of good teenagers remove their clothing, or something along those lines. This is not the first time Disney has found itself under fire from innuendos and controversial lines, but that's one of the things that remains removed, or whatever that is. But there's the line that I'm focusing on is from the opening song of Aladdin, and there's a line from the film that says, I think the words "cut off your ear" was included in the song, and they removed it in future versions of the film, specifically, or more particularly the Disney Plus version still has it removed, despite the fact that Disney said that rather than remove this content, we want to acknowledge its harmful impact, yet they still remove the "cut off your ear" line. And I just think it bothers me just a little bit, because yeah, okay, some of the things that are mentioned are not nice, like the "cut off your ear" line. No, it's not nice. But at the same time, that's what happens in those countries. I mean, if you're going to delete the line "cut off your ear," why not delete the scene from Aladdin where a shopkeeper grabs Jasmine's wrist and says, "You know what the penalty is for stealing," in which he takes a sword out and we know what he's about to do. He's about to cut off her hand. That's a very common punishment for stealing in that part of the world. I'm not going to say specifically where because I don't want to be wrong, but somewhere in those parts of the world, it's common for people to have their hands cut off for thievery. I don't know the full details on why or how, but I just know that it does happen, or at least has happened. I don't know if it still does, but I'm surprised they didn't go that far and delete that scene. But at the same time, you can't just pretend those things don't exist. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's not like if you kept those things in, are people going to riot outside Disney's headquarters? Are people going to walk around with signs saying... You can't really do that. You can't say that it's Disney's fault. Disney might be covering their arse by putting those disclaimers up and removing content, but it's not untrue. I don't mean to defend Disney, but at the same time, I don't disagree with the disclaimer. That's important. You can have the disclaimer at the start, but the fact that you still have content that's removed makes you come across a little bit contradictory. You contradict yourself by still removing certain scenes, certain lines, certain segments from films that you deem inappropriate. But they're not hurting anyone. The only people you're appeasing are the Twitter crowd that are easily offended by absolutely everything. And I mean literally anything offends them. So, you do you, Disney. But, Jesus, I'm 10 minutes into this podcast already and I'm talking way too much about something that's not even that important. I just saw it on a news article and I just thought I'd bring it up. But basically, the crux of this is Disney is now offering disclaimers for outdated cultural depictions, which I think is a little bit unnecessary because it's not doing anything wrong, but you want to cover your arse, you go ahead. Anyway, continuing forward, I'm going to bring up the fact that Analogue are now creating a new console, and it's called the Analogue Duo. And what the Analogue Duo is it's a clone console. Now, for those of you who don't know who Analogue is a company that specialises in creating clone consoles of retro game consoles and adding more compatibility with them with other aspects. And what I mean by that is, for example, Analogue created the Super NT, or in fact, you know what, I'm going to use the Mega SG for an example because I own one. The Mega SG is a clone of a Sega Mega Drive, and what it allows you to do is it allows you to play your original cartridges on the Mega SG. It has HDMI compatibility. It allows you to mess around with loads of different settings within the console itself, such as scan lines, different audio settings depending on what kind of model of the console you want to clone, how you want to emulate different chipsets and all that stuff. And also the games that you can play are region free. In other words, the Mega SG is region free. It allows you to play any Sega Mega Drive game or Genesis game from any region and it'll work. It's completely region free, HDMI compatibility. It also allows you to plug in an SD card so that you can make firmware updates or do other things should you want to. And also, what I find impressive about these consoles, all of them, is that they are FPGA consoles. I think I'm saying that right. I think it's FPGA. I don't want to fuck up my field programmable gate array. And what that basically does, in the most basic of terms, is it basically copies the actual internal hardware of the console that it's supposed to be cloning, in that it is an actual Sega Mega Drive with all this stuff added on top of it. It's not an emulator machine such as the akin to that of the Sega Mega Drive Mini or the Super Nintendo Mini, all those classic consoles. Those are emulator machines. The Mega SG, the Super NT, the Analog NT, the Analog Pocket, those are all FPGA systems that mimic real hardware. So, and because they are real hardware, they don't allow you to do save states unless it is a game that is battery powered, allows battery RAM save files. Those are the only ways you can actually save to the console itself. It kind of makes it a little bit moot as a result, because you can already do it within the game itself, but at least it gives you a little bit more options. The only way you can use save states is if you use an EverDrive cartridge, but that works on any other console anyway, not just the FPGA clone consoles. And what I'm basically saying is the Analogue Duo, what I'm talking about, is a clone of the what's it called? The PC Engine, also known as the TurboGrafx 16 and the Core Graphics in other regions. And it's not just the TurboGrafx 16 that it's mimicking here. What it's basically allowing you to do is it allows you to play PC Engine games, TurboGrafx 16 games, Super Graphics games, and PC Engine CD-ROM games in one console. And that's very similar to what the Mega SG does as well, because not only can you play Sega Mega Drive games from any region, but you can also, it comes with an adapter that allows you to play Sega Master System games, once again, from any region. In terms of the Sega CD aspect, I'm not sure, but I think it's still region locked. But you can attach it to a Sega CD. But I'm not talking about the Sega Mega Drive or the Mega SG. I'm talking about the TurboGrafx 16 clone known as the Analogue Duo. Basically, Analogue Duo are creating a TurboGrafx 16 clone console, and it is to go on sale next year for $199. And it doesn't come, well, I don't think it comes with a controller. I think you have to buy the controller separately. I had to buy a controller separately for the Mega SG, but it's still compatible with my original Mega Drive controllers. And just like all other analog consoles, that allows 1080p resolutions, HDMI output, high quality displays, USB port on this one, of course. Yeah, I'm quite excited about this because I recently just bought a TurboGrafx 16 Mini, or the Core Graphics PC Engine Core Graphics Mini, and I haven't played much of it, but I played a little bit of Bonk, and I really enjoyed that one. But it'll be interesting. This might, if I am able to get myself an Analogue Duo, it might encourage me to start buying TurboGrafx 16 or PC Engine games, because it's one of the 16-bit consoles I really missed out on growing up. Now, I kind of missed out on the Super Nintendo. I owned a Mega Drive growing up, but I never owned a PC Engine or Core Graphics. Never owned that. So this is a nice gateway for me to expand my horizons when it comes to retro game consoles, and actually play a bunch of games that I would otherwise never have played if it wasn't for the TurboGrafx 16 Mini. So this is a good jumping on point for the most dedicated of TurboGrafx 16 fans, or those that... This is probably a good jumping on point if you've never played a TurboGrafx 16 and want to, because it's very accessible and it's region free. So it's personally, I think it's a good jumping on point. Otherwise, you can just get the TurboGrafx 16 Mini. It's a little bit less expensive, but it's an emulator machine, so it depends on what your preference is. But I'm quite excited for it. It looks sleek as well. It looks really nice. I especially like the black one, but it also comes in white as well. So it also has two slots, one for cards and one for CDs, which is interesting. And it also begs the question, if Analogue are able to create this, to create a console that allows CD-ROMs to be played, I wonder, and now I know it's only a 16-bit console, but I wonder, will that mean that we could get something like a PlayStation clone, or a Dreamcast clone, or a Sega Saturn clone? Anything by Analogue is always immaculate, or at least 99% immaculate. I absolutely really appreciate the work they put into their clone consoles, and I would like to see them do a 5th generation system. That would be interesting to see, because we haven't really had it yet with the Mini systems yet. I know we've had the PlayStation Mini, but look how that turned out. I can't imagine the PlayStation 2 Mini or the Dreamcast Mini would be any more successful than the PlayStation Mini. That's my personal take on it. But an Analogue clone would be perfect for the likes of me. Can you imagine having a PlayStation clone by Analogue? Don't know what you could call it, like the Analogue Station? God knows. But it would be nice to have a real PlayStation console with HDMI compatibility and almost 100% picture perfect display and almost 100% authenticity with regards to how the games play. No emulation necessary. It would be absolutely amazing to get a PlayStation clone that plays games exactly as intended. I would love it personally. But the Analogue Duo is something I'm really excited to see in future. I kind of missed out on the pre-orders for the Analogue Pocket. I don't know if they're going to open those back up in future, or if they're going to distribute more copies. I haven't looked into what they're doing in regards to increasing unit sales for that one, or increasing unit orders. But it would be nice to see, because the Analogue Pocket was very much on my radar until certain events happened during the year. and I just focused on other more important things at that point. And then when I wasn't looking, when I had my back turned, here comes Analog Pocket putting up pre-orders for the console, and I missed out on it. So I may have to try again some other time if I'm able, if I'm lucky enough. But yeah, so I'm quite excited about the Analogue Duo. And my next topic is going to be Bethesda on the possibility that none of their games will be playable on PS5. And it doesn't scare me, but I do find it quite interesting. This isn't the first time this has happened with Bethesda. I mean, for God's sake, look at the Elder Scrolls 3 of Morrowind. That was exclusive to both PC and the original Xbox. And I think for quite a while, Oblivion was exclusive to PC and Xbox 360 before it eventually came to PlayStation 3. And then Skyrim came out, it was available on all platforms immediately on launch. So when the Elder Scrolls 6 comes out, it's interesting to know whether or not it will actually be exclusive to Xbox and PC, or will it actually come to PS5. Now, the head of Xbox, Phil Spencer, said that Bethesda will not need to release games on PS5 to recoup the cost. That's what he said. He says that Microsoft doesn't have to release Bethesda games on PS5. And I don't know whether he's saying officially that Xbox or Bethesda games will flat out never come to PS5, or if he's just leaving it up to Bethesda to release their games on PS5. I don't know what that means, but it would be interesting. It would also drive sales for Xbox. So even though I'm a PlayStation fan at heart, don't get me wrong, I have an Xbox One. I played the 360 more than the PS3, but I am a PlayStation fan at heart. You know, I've bought every single PlayStation console to date. I suppose the same goes with Xbox, but I think it's a smart move on Microsoft's part to have a brand like Bethesda exclusive to them. It would make sense because it would drive sales for the Xbox Series X going forward. You know, how are we going to get people to buy our console? Well, the next Fallout game is going to be here, the next Doom game is going to be here, and the next Elder Scrolls game is going to be here. It's not coming to PS5, it's coming to Xbox. That'll bring people in. I think it's really smart. I don't have to like it as a PlayStation fan, but I'll probably get an Xbox Series X anyway, because those games are going to be on that system. And I love Bethesda games despite my on and off relationship with their games recently, such as Fallout 4. I did not enjoy that game that much. I liked it, but I didn't enjoy it as much as I did Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. But I didn't like Elder Scrolls Online, and I have no interest in Fallout 76. But Elder Scrolls 6, very much looking forward to. I like Bethesda for the most part, but if their games are going to come to Xbox exclusively, that'll be enough for me to buy an Xbox. But I'm probably going to get one anyway. Knowing my history with game consoles, I buy anything. But if they were to release Elder Scrolls 6 right now and tell me that it's exclusive to the Xbox, you're damn right I'm going to go out and buy an Xbox Series X. Whether I would buy it first, I don't know. And that brings me to my next point. I want to talk about what I've decided to do in regards to my decision on what console I'm going to buy first. I don't know if I confirmed it in any other episode of my podcast, but I have decided to save up and buy a PlayStation 5 this year. I'm probably not going to get it on launch. That remains to be seen. If I have no plans to get it on launch, it would be nice if I could, But that goes with my financial situation and whether or not they will actually have any available in my vicinity. I do not plan on buying it online first. I plan on checking physical stores first to see if they have any. I know I have my issues with GameStop. I have especially had a lot of issues with them in the last 12 months with regards to buying brand new games and buying game consoles. GameStop have just been a little bit off for me personally in the last 12 months. I haven't bought a new game from GameStop in months. I've bought a few pre-owned games and games that were on discounts, but in regards to new releases, I haven't. And in regards to consoles, I don't think I ever will. Not after the pain in the backside I had last year. It was resolved, but it shouldn't have been an issue in the first place, and there was a bit of a scare in regards to that as well. What happened was my fiance bought me an Xbox One X for my Christmas. Now, I already had an original base Xbox One, but I was looking to upgrade to the Xbox One X, but I didn't know where I was financially at the time. But she surprised me with one, but the surprise was ruined in a way. Not ruined, but she had to break the surprise early because she wasn't sure if she got the right bundle or the right console. So she asked me to have a look at it. This was a few weeks in advance of Christmas. And what she intended on doing was she intended on getting a bundle which was the Xbox One X with Forza Horizon 4. Now, what I got was the Xbox One X in a box that had Forza Horizon 4 on the label, but the seal was broken, and when I opened it up just to check the contents of the box, there was no game code inside, so it didn't come with Forza Horizon 4. It was a display box that the Xbox One X was basically shoved in with no bundle included. It was just a clean Xbox One X console. That's what GameStop refer to their base. Well, not base, but like if you buy a console, if you're selling a console without a bundle, you call that a clean console. And they sold her a clean console for the price of the bundle that she was supposed to get. Now, the problem with this was not just the fact that they gave me the wrong bundle, was that the fact that they gave me the wrong bundle when the bundle was on a discount. Now, they were selling the bundle for so much percent off. And they sold it to my fiance. She brought it home, and then we found out that it was the wrong bundle, or at least the bundle wasn't there. I contacted GameStop about this, and they told me that they're not basically on the phone. They told me that I'd have to send it up to Dublin, which for me is a pain in the backside because that means I'd have to post it myself, and I wasn't doing that. But she said on the phone that the second option was to go into my local store and see if they can help me. The people over the phone couldn't help me. So I went into my local GameStop and I asked about it. Now, oh yeah, there was another nitpick about this as well. Over the phone, the girl said that if it comes to a situation where the sale has lapsed or expired, that if I did manage to get a replacement, I would have to pay the difference. In other words, I think, let's say for example, the console was on sale for $320. Let's just say it was $320. Alright, and the original price was $390. Let's just say that. She was basically telling me that if I was able to get it replaced after the sale had lapsed, that, or the discount had lapsed, that I would have to pay the extra 70 quid. And I was having none of it. So I marched into my local GameStop and I told them what the problem was, and they said that they might not be able to replace it because the bundle in question was no longer available in store. And that pissed me off, but she says, I'll get on the phone to headquarters in Dublin and I will see what I can do from there. So we decided we would leave the store for a few minutes and then come back. About 2 or 3 minutes after leaving the store, I was about to enter a coffee shop while I waited. Just as I got to the coffee shop door, I got a phone call saying, come back, I'm just going to replace it with whatever bundle you want. Free of charge. Now, in their in their defence, that was within their good graces. They didn't have to do that, but they did. However, it shouldn't have happened, and it makes me nervous going forward if I decide to buy a games console from GameStop. But then there's a double-edged sword there. While I am having this fear, they do have a better warranty system than any other place. All of the consoles are being sold at the same price all over the country. So it doesn't really matter where I buy it. But GameStop do have a better warranty system than the likes of other shops. Other shops would have me send it up to somewhere else myself, whereas with GameStop I can go in with it and they would do it so long as I have the warranty. So if I do decide to get a PS5, I don't want to buy it from GameStop because of the fears I have, but I might have to. Just for peace of mind, ironically enough. But I've decided to buy a PS5 as opposed to an Xbox Series X because the PS5 actually has games exclusive to its system, which I do want to play. The games I'm really excited to play on PS5, if I manage to get to them, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I know it's available on PS4, but I want to play it the best way possible. If I'm getting a new game after November, I want to get it on a new system. Spider-Man Miles Morales, that's a given. And I'm also excited to try out Spider-Man Remastered. So if I'm going to get that, I might as well get the Ultimate Edition, or whatever it's called, of Miles Morales. I'm excited to play Bugsnax. I'm excited to play the new Ratchet and Clank game. I'm not really excited to play Godfall, but I am interested in it since it is a launch title for the system. I mean, launch titles are never that great, but they're a good way to expose what the console's capable of doing. So I am quite excited to try out Godfall if I decide to get it. Yeah. So the PS5 is the console I've decided to get this year, if I'm able. But what a year it's been, really. And that brings me to the Game of the Year discussion, I suppose. I've played a lot of new games this year. Not too many, but quite a few, actually, now that I think about it. I think I played Final Fantasy VII Remake. I've played Mafia Definitive Edition. I've played The Last of Us Part 2. Pretty sure there's a few more games that I've played that were brand new this year, but I think the one that stood out to me was probably The Last of Us Part 2. It's probably my most anticipated game of the year. I absolutely loved the original game. Of course, I did a review on it. You can look at that on my YouTube channel if you want to check it out. Very much enjoyed the original game, and I very much enjoyed the second one, despite the story decisions that may or may not have been smart. That's up to you. I wouldn't call it garbage. I wouldn't call it trash. That's a little bit of hyperbolic. It's a little bit hyperbolic. Over the top, over the reaction. If it wasn't for the leaks, I don't think the game would have half been shat on the way it was. And anyone will tell you different. They'll probably say, no, if this game was released without the leaks, it would still get shat on. It would, but not in the way that it did because of the leaks. Because of the leaks, that game became Naughty Dog became criminal number one. Everyone was after Naughty Dog with regards to the story of The Last of Us 2 and the leaks. Say what you want about the story not being to your expectations, but I don't think it deserved nearly as much vitriol as it did. I mean, death threats? Really? You're going to give death threats to the director and creator of the game, and you're also going to harass the voice actors of characters in the game you didn't like. That is way too far. I digress. My game of the year was Last of Us 2. I liked Ghost of Tsushima. I liked Final Fantasy VII Remake. And I liked Mafia Definitive Edition. But Final Fantasy VII Remake disappointed me because, well, yeah, it's episodic. And I understand why it's episodic to an extent. We're basically getting the entire story of Final Fantasy VII piece by piece, retold. I'm excited to see more of it, but I couldn't possibly put that game as my game of the year because there was a lot of things about that game that just annoyed me. I enjoyed it, but there was a lot about it that annoyed me. I enjoyed Mafia Definitive Edition, but the gameplay is obviously a little bit linear. It was over before I even realised. Animal Crossing could have been up there as my game of the year because it really cured it came out at a perfect time. It came out at a perfect time. Everyone who had a Nintendo Switch that was suffering due to COVID got Animal Crossing. And those that didn't bought a Switch to get Animal Crossing. That game was Nintendo's best game they could have put out this year. And it could have been my game of the year, but it's not. I enjoyed it, but I haven't been back to it since. I know I said I was going to go back to it for October, but I still haven't turned it on. I have turned my Switch on, but I didn't turn Animal Crossing on. And it's one of those situations where I'm trying to play specific games. I don't want Animal Crossing distracting me, but I kind of want to play it for Halloween. But Ghost of Tsushima was also a really good game, but it came out at a time where I was getting tired of open world games. Even though I enjoyed it, I felt like I've played so many of these kind of games before. Don't get me wrong, the game is stunning. The visuals are stunning. The story was actually not too bad either, and the gameplay was good, but it was nothing special to me. It's nothing I haven't played before, in my opinion. But The Last of Us, I really enjoyed The Last of Us Part 2 this year. Really enjoyed it. I'm not being biased. If I didn't like it, I would have said I didn't like it. But I really loved The Last of Us Part 2. I'm open-minded, and I'm not the type of person to get angry at a game's story. That's ridiculous. I've got bigger problems in my life going on to get angry at things like that. So I don't really give a shit what people think of The Last of Us 2. I really enjoyed it, and it's my personal game of the year. I think, unless I'm missing something, I don't know. But to me it stood out. Now, going back to PlayStation 5 versus Xbox, another reason why I'm not getting, like I already said, I'm not getting an Xbox Series X because there are no exclusive games for it that would push me to get it. All games that are coming out for that console, 30 included, all the launch titles coming out for the Xbox Series X are already coming out on the original Xbox One X, or Xbox One in general. And most of them are coming out on PC as well if they're exclusive to Microsoft, but none of them are exclusive to a next-gen Xbox system. And why would I? Most of the games I'm playing on Xbox One at the moment look fine on my Xbox One X. I just got the Xbox One X last year. I'm certainly not going to dump it right now for an Xbox Series X just to play my games a little bit better than how they're already playing. They're playing fine to me. There is nothing, absolutely nothing pushing me to get an Xbox Series X. Maybe Halo would have been more of a push, but I haven't even played Halo 5 yet. And I know that they said that Ori and the Will of the Wisps is going to be available on Xbox Series X as well, with all the enhancements thrown in. But if I want any enhancements beyond my Xbox One X, I will play the PC version instead. So I already have options if I want to play Xbox exclusives in a better way. I have a PC at the very least. Whether it runs them better, I don't know, but I do have the option if they do. So really, there's no really much point in me getting an Xbox Series X when the PS5 actually not only allows you to play 99% of all the PS4 games, but there are new games coming out exclusive to the system as well, including Demon's Souls, which I don't think I brought up. I'm a big Souls fan. I am probably the biggest Souls fan that never beat a Souls game, and that's God's honest truth. I've played Dark Souls. I've played a small touch of Demon's Souls. I've played a good bit of Dark Souls 3. I haven't played Dark Souls 2. I've played a huge chunk of Bloodborne, and I haven't beaten a single one. I love Dark Souls 1 though. That's probably my favourite out of all of them. Dark Souls is really good, but I haven't beaten it. It's a very difficult game, but I still enjoy it. And I'm very much looking forward to Demon's Souls. I'm really much looking forward to playing Demon's Souls and never beating it. But you can't go wrong with those games. Those games are fantastic. They're very well made mechanically. They're solid, brilliant games. Love them. And with the new Ratchet and Clank game coming out on PS5, I also need to remind myself to play the original Ratchet and Clank game that came out on PS4, which was a remake or a reboot of the original game. So I don't know if this one is a follow-on to that. I haven't got a clue. I may look it up. But yeah, no Xbox Series X for me unless they do something spectacular with the system. But as far as I'm concerned, my Xbox One X is perfectly fine, as is my PC. Well, I just want to plug my channel for just a brief moment now. I have a Halloween special coming out this October 31st. I originally wasn't going to do it. I had no plans to do a game review for the rest of the year. I just didn't have the head for it. But I was just sitting pondering one day thinking, if I was to do a Halloween episode, what fucking game could I even review? I could not think of a creepy game that I had played or that I could play that I would enjoy to cover. And I was initially thinking of Little Nightmares, but I thought, no, not yet. I could probably do that next year, but God fucking knows. But then a specific game came to mind, and if you're a follower of my channel and you're waiting on this game being a spooky game, that's a little small hint into what this game is that I'm reviewing for Halloween. It's not a spooky game. It's not what you would consider a horror game at first glance, but it is regarded as a horror game. And it's a game I hadn't played in a long time, and I might have played it briefly a couple of years ago, but just to see how it played. Just to see how well it, if it aged well or anything like that. And that's another hint. Obviously, it's a little bit of an older game, and which I specialise in reviewing anyway. I love older games because I remember them better. Because I used to play them a lot as a young teenager going into my adulthood. I used to play them a lot, so I know more about them. Whereas if I play new games, I can't review them because I will play them, finish them, and immediately forget what happened in them because I'm going on to the next game. With older games, I never played games back then the way I play them now. Back then I used to play the same games over and over and over. I didn't have to worry about jumping to the next game because I didn't always have a new game to play. I played the same games over and over. So this is one of those games. I didn't play it too much. I might have beaten it once. And I will say as well that for this game, for this review, I didn't actually beat it, but I played a lot of it to warrant enough content for a review. The review is going to be about 40 minutes long. It's one of my longest episodes. I think it's my second longest episode. I put a lot of effort into this one. More than usual. I did a lot of research into certain aspects about the game. So yeah, I have been hard at work at this review ever since the month of October even started. Was the moment I decided to review this particular game. The trailer, not really a trailer, but there's a teaser for it on my YouTube channel right now. It was the video that was released prior to this specific podcast. If you go onto the YouTube channel, you'll see this podcast. You will see the teaser for that game review before it. And if you haven't seen it, or if you have seen it and you want a bit of an explanation, then here's basically what the teaser is. I'm not talking about the game in question, as you'll probably notice. I'm talking about games that got banned, or games that didn't get banned that probably should have gotten banned for specific themes. And I stretch it on to movies as well. Now, if anyone watched that trailer and I got a little bit confused, I am not covering banned video games on my next review. Because when I saw the trailer and teaser after I made it, I realised it does sound like I'm going to be covering banned games. I do not cover anything bar an actual video game in my reviews. I will never cover topics. I won't cover anything like that. I'll always cover a game. It's always going to be, at the very least, a game or multiple games. In this case, it's a game. I have played a game, at least half of it. I've recorded the game's footage. I have written a script for the game. I have recorded my voice, my review. I've edited it. I am in the process of tweaking everything. It will be uploaded to YouTube for October 31st, and it will be my Halloween special. And I'm quite excited to broadcast it out, or to publish it, because it was a spur of the moment decision, and I'm quite excited for it. Now, despite that game, there are a few games I have been meaning to go back to. I tried to play Mafia 2 the last time I did my podcast episode, and it just became a little bit of a nightmare. It's not running right. I'm thinking, like, this is the definitive edition on PC. It's not running correctly. And it's running fine, but there's certain aspects of it that's just really annoying me. Like, if I'm driving, it's stuttering as I'm turning the car. In fact, it's stuttering a lot as I'm driving, and I know my computer is very capable of running it, but I don't recall any of these problems happening on the original version of the game. And I'm actually really tempted to go back and play said original version of the game as well, because it's just the better way to play Mafia 2. With Mafia 2 Definitive Edition, they did very little to upgrade it, but yet they also managed to fuck it up even more. I don't understand how they were able to do that, but they did. So I might go back to playing the original Mafia 2 on PC, because it's just the best version. It's the most polished, despite the graphical downgrade, the very slight graphical downgrade. Not by much, believe me, not by much. It plays better with no problems, and I might just go back to it. I've also got to go back to Ni no Kuni at some point. I got really, really far in that game, about 35, 36 hours, and I just stopped so that I could play Mafia Definitive Edition, which I eventually beat. And then I went on to play Mafia 2, which I mentioned. And then it was around the end of September coming into October where I decided, you know what, I'm going to do a new review for October. So I stopped playing Mafia 2 to do my review for Halloween, and then in between that I've just been on and off couple of different games. I was playing a bunch of FIFA games on PS2, don't ask. And then I decided to play Pro Evolution Soccer on PS4, so that's what I've been playing whilst blaring a band on Spotify that I have now become quite a decent fan of. I am now a fan of Slipknot. I don't know where it came from. I've been very aware of Slipknot throughout my life, most of my life at least. My best friend, massive Slipknot fan. He could be an inspiration in a way, because he always went on about them throughout my teenage years. But I never caught on to any of their music, maybe one or two. But I decided to give them a go about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I have to say, I don't know what happened, but something clicked, and I've really been enjoying Slipknot's music lately. So that's pretty much all I've been listening to in regards to music the last few weeks. So what I've been doing when I'm not reviewing this game, I've been playing Pro Evolution Soccer on my PS4, turning the commentary off, turning the music off in the game, and blaring Slipknot over it. And there's something about it that just makes the game so much more enjoyable. There's something about playing a football game and blaring Slipknot that just makes the game much more fun. Because when I play football games, FIFA and Pro Evolution Soccer especially, I tend to go into this zone mentally where I'm just kind of sitting there dwelling on other shit while I'm playing it, because I know these games so well. I know football inside out. You know, I know the sport well, but it ends up becoming a chore to play when I'm playing it without any music. So I've been playing Slipknot while playing video games lately, and it's really enjoyable. Going way off topic. So yeah, those are the games I've basically been playing. I don't know. I'm going to try and see if I can go back to Ni no Kuni and get that game completed, at least before I decide to get a PS5, because, or I could bleed it into the PS5 and play it that way. And that's another thing about the PS5 as well. The reason why I'm leaning more towards a PS5 is because my library is basically 70% PlayStation. I have about almost 100 PlayStation 4 games physically, and I'll be damned if I don't continue. So if I don't get a PS5, what am I going to do with these PS4 games? I know I have a PS4, but they run so much better on PS5. Why wouldn't I take advantage of it? And I know I have a few Xbox One games as well, but I'm a PlayStation guy at the very core. So of course I'm going to. It's brand loyalty that's driving me towards the PS5, and I've invested so much money into the PS4. And the fact that 99% of the entire PS4 library is apparently compatible with the PS5, it's a no-brainer to get the PS5 for me personally. And I actually got to look at the PlayStation 5's user interface lately. And that's the final topic for today's video, or podcast. I got a look at the PlayStation 5's user interface, and while it's probably a little bit jarring at first, I don't know if I'm a fan of a couple of things. I don't know if I'm a fan of the progress cards that come up as you play. I can only imagine this is going to be available on select PlayStation exclusives. I don't know if this is going to be available on every game for the console. I don't know if a third-party game is going to have this feature available. But what it basically is it allows you to play certain portions of a game, and it will tell you how long it will take you to do it. It tells you how far you are into doing it. It's very hard to explain because it was only showing an example on one game, so I will use that game. Sackboy Adventures, or whatever it's called. Basically, it showed the player playing the game, and when you press the middle button on your PlayStation controller, it shows a menu. The very bottom, it shows your usual middle button menu, like, you know, home screen, sound, audio, whatever. Take a screenshot. The screenshot system actually looks a lot better, by the way. That's one of my praises of the PS5, is that you can take a screenshot and it immediately snaps it. You don't have to wait on a notification coming up, and you certainly don't have to, at least I don't think you do. You don't have to wait on the notification disappearing to take another screenshot without the notification appearing on this fucking screenshot when you take it. I hate that. But not going back to the the menu itself. When he opened up the game while playing Little Big Planet, he opened up the PlayStation 5's menu screen, as you can do while you're playing. You can take screenshots and all that, but you can also see these cards that appear. It basically chops the game's missions or levels up into these cards, tells you how far you've gone in those levels in the game. And that's really handy, but I can't imagine every game is going to integrate this. That's my belief. For the likes of Grand Theft Auto 5 on PS5, right? Imagine this. Is it really going to tell you how far you are in a specific mission in that game? Are you going to be able to jump from mission to different missions on the PS5 version of Grand Theft Auto 5 using those cards? I don't think so. So I think that feature is going to be a game-by-game basis. That's basically how I see it. But it's probably going to be for PlayStation exclusives at the very least. I can't imagine this being available on third-party games. I just can't. But that's one of the things that I'm not really sure about. It just looked like there was a lot going on the screen. Too much information for my liking. Too much information to read in. I know it's obvious what you're seeing, but it's too much clutter on the screen. The whole jumping in and out of games, to jump straight out of a game, to jump straight into another one and resume it, I don't know how that works. Is it like when you're playing on PC? Is it like alt-tabbing from one game to another while keeping the last game open? Because I don't know if I'm going to do that. I don't play games multiple times at a time. I don't play multiple games at a time. Not very often. I don't think I ever do that. I don't think I've done that once. The only reason I would see myself play multiple games at a time is if one game involves a lot of interactivity and a lot of concentration, and the other one I can just leave passively. For example, if I'm playing, I don't know, Uncharted 4 on the PlayStation 4 while leaving Civilization 6 open on the computer. You know, one game involves a lot of interactivity and a lot of concentration. The other one, you can just kind of click an action, press end, and let it do its thing while you continue the other game. That's the only way I can see myself playing two games at a time. With the PS5, though, I don't know how it works. See, all they kept spouting was, with the power of the SSD, you are able to jump into different games near seamlessly and blah blah blah. Yeah, that's really cool. But when you jump, if I jump from Sackboy to Assassin's Creed Valhalla, will Sackboy still be running in the background while I'm playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla? I suppose that is kind of nifty for those that want that near seamless jumping in from one game to the other experience, but imagine how much RAM that's taken up. I don't do it on computer. I'm certainly not going to do it on a console. If I'm done with a game, I'm going to close the game and play the next game. Turn on the next game. So I'm probably reading it wrong, but that's what it looked like they were doing. Quick resume, they were calling it, or something like that. Unless that's the Xbox I'm thinking of. But basically, you turn the game on, it opens, and you can turn another game on, and it opens almost immediately, letting you resume where you left off. It's kind of cool, but if it's making the last game run in the background, I don't think I'm going to do it, because that can cause all sorts of performance issues when you're running a different game. I've seen it happen on the PlayStation 4, and that, like, when I have, like, Spotify and a game running, and I'm trying to download a game, the download's going to go really slow for a start. Your downloads are going to go slow when you're playing a game. That happens all the time. I can't imagine the PS5 is going to be any different in that regard. I do not see the PlayStation 5 having a better network adapter. The PlayStation 4's is terrible. Sony's been made aware of it, but Sony are also stubborn pigs. They're not listening to us. So, yeah, the whole jumping in from one game to the next sounds cool on paper. I don't know if it's going to work if the game that you were previously playing is still running in the background. I don't see the point in that. Why would you do that? But I'm probably misreading it. Another thing that I have a problem with, and it doesn't seem like a problem at first because you don't see it yet. They didn't really show it either. They showed it from the front menu, but they didn't really go into it. So the PlayStation Store is now integrated into the console's UI. You know, into the console's operating system. You can now immediately jump into a PlayStation Store and buy a game. Right there. Done. You don't have to open a PlayStation Store app within the console that's separate from everything else. You don't have to wait on anything loading. It is apparently integrated into the game console's operating system that you can just jump straight into it without a problem. And that's cool. That's really cool. For those that are into digital copies of games, you can just buy your game straight away. But here therein lies the problem. And I think Review Tech USA pointed this out as well. It has the potential to throw way too much in your face when you're on the front menu as a result. And one of the things that Review Tech USA pointed out was that it has the potential to shove advertisements for games or whatever on the front menu. Like, if you could be browsing the front menu to look for a game to play, and all of a sudden, in big, taking over 80% of the screen, Call of Duty Black Ops DLC available now, click here to buy. And if you've already got your card details already saved, which I probably will have, or my PayPal, you can just press, you'll probably just be able to press the buy button immediately, and it's immediately like one click buy, done. You've bought it straight away. That is going to sound so gross. And I don't like the idea of it. It could happen. I don't like it though. And then another thing that, it's not a big problem because there are alternatives, but it just seems a bit silly. The whole thing with communicating with other players, now they've really overhauled that. I have to praise them for that at least. You can watch other players in your party play a game live without any problems by the looks of it. I imagine you need a really good internet connection to do that, but either way, it allows you to watch your friends play games if they have it broadcasting. It's very similar to what they do on Steam. They allow you to broadcast your game within Steam and allow other players to jump in and watch. So the PlayStation 5 is going to allow you to do that. And it looks amazing. I mean, I personally haven't seen any situation where I would want to do that. I don't really use Twitch that much, but there are a lot of people out there who do use Twitch. And this is one of those ways where you can... it's kind of like the live on PlayStation thing, but this time it's with your friends, and it's a lot more personal, and it's a lot quicker, and it's straightforward. No need to open any stupid apps. You just go, sorry, I've got heartburn, it's really bad. You just jump straight into this player or your friend's video if they decide to share the game. You can also share clips with your friends and ask them how to get past certain parts of a game. And there is also a feature that allows you to look up certain parts of a game that you might be stuck on. You can search for video clips of people, achieving these challenges, or sorry, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, overcoming these challenges in the game. Basically, short video guides. You can look those up on the game that you're playing within the PlayStation 5's menu. And here's where I say that there are alternatives and that this seems a little bit silly. In order to look at these videos, these guides, you need a PlayStation Plus account. Now, if you're a big PlayStation fan and you're a loyal fan of the PlayStation, I would imagine you already have a PlayStation Plus account. You know, if you're utilising the console to its full potential, you have a PlayStation Plus account. Let's be real here, you probably do. But Just the idea that you need to pay money to look at these guides is a little bit hilarious. It's also hilarious that this is coming from Sony's platform itself, that they're pushing this. It's like, it's weird coming from a first party, because there are so many people there that allow you to look at these guides on YouTube. What's stopping me from opening up a YouTube app on my phone and looking up a guide that way? Is this going to be something that's going to happen in future, where PlayStation are going to start doing takedowns of video guides for games that they publish? Is this going to be a problem? I hope not. And I hope I'm not giving them ideas by saying that either. Believe me, you, Sony, if any Sony executive or Sony social media guys watching this, do not take that as an idea. The whole fucking fan base is going to hate it if you even think of doing something like that, because that's just gross. It's almost as bad as when Koei Tecmo did this thing with, I don't know how many games they did it with, but on at least Dynasty Warriors 8 Extreme Legends Complete Edition on PS4, I cannot record footage of that game within the PlayStation 4's UI, within the PlayStation 4's operating system. I cannot do it, because even though it allows me to record the video footage, I'm not allowed to record audio footage. It just doesn't let you. It just doesn't let you. And if I recorded it off of my Elgato, it would let me, obviously, because I'm doing it on a external software and external hardware. And there's nothing stopping me from using external programs to look up guides for certain games. But Sony better not get the idea of doing takedowns for that, because that's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. But they probably won't. I'm probably overthinking it. But that's another thing about the PlayStation 5 I'm a little bit weary, not weary of, I just think it's a little bit dumb that you're going to make people have PlayStation Plus in order to look up video guides. It's a little bit daft. I mean, you would have to have some gall to have that behind a paywall, when practically everyone who has access to YouTube and plays video games and gets stuck on games, the first thing they do, they will look up a video guide. So how long it will take for that to catch on is beyond me. I really don't know. But those are the few problems I have with the PlayStation 5's user interface as a whole. But overall, I like the user interface. I don't think it's terrible. It's probably just because I'm looking at this new user interface and it just looks a little bit too much. But I'll probably get used to it once I start using it. And if I know Sony, if I know PlayStation, that user interface will remain as is for the duration of its tenure, for the duration of its existence. The user interface will not change. There will be no upgrades that changes the look of the user interface. There will be no upgrades that changes how it functions. There will be nothing like that. The Xbox does that all the bloody time. They always change their user interface. They are always changing where things go. PlayStation doesn't do that. And if they do very little of it, and they do it subtly. But the PlayStation dashboard, as it were, the PlayStation's front end menu on PS4, it remained the same. On PS3, it remained the same. Obviously on PS2 and PS1 it was almost non-existent, but it remained the same. PlayStation don't change the look of their user interface. Xbox started doing it with the Xbox 360 when they changed the Blades dashboard to the Xbox Experience dashboard, or whatever they called it back then. And then they changed it to the Metro dashboard, and it was the Metro dashboard that they started with going into the Xbox One, but they've been changing it ever since. And that's why I cannot get used to the Xbox One's user interface, because it's just, there's too much going on and they keep changing it, and I'll never get used to it because they keep changing it. It's just too much. At least with PlayStation, I don't know how anyone can have a complaint on PlayStation's user interface, because it's practically the one user interface throughout its entire lifespan. It doesn't change, and it's simple, you know. But then again, it comes down to brand loyalty as well. If you're an Xbox fan and you're only an Xbox fan, you're going to do whatever it takes to defend the brand that you're loyal to. You're not going to, you know what I mean? But yeah, basically. The user interface looks fine, but I can see the potential for things to go a little bit haywire in regards to how much information is being shown at once. Because with the PlayStation 4's UI, it was simple. And for me, what I mean by that is simple as in once you open it, there's these big blocks that show games that you have installed. And you just pick a game and there you go. You have folders to put them into based on what category you want. You choose it yourself. And it's just there in front of you. You don't need to go through any other menus to find your games unless you're reinstalling a game that's no longer installed. That's it. With the Xbox, it can be kind of like that. You can customize it to your liking, but on first opening the Xbox's dashboard, it's a little bit, whoa, there's a lot here. You have to reorganize it yourself. With the PlayStation 4, it's right in front of you, big blocks. Here's the games that you have installed on your system. We're not going to hide them away. We're not going to move them around. We're not going to make you do any of that. It's right here in front of you. With the PlayStation 5, it's kind of the same, but they're now up on the top left-hand corner, which gives this whole middle bit a lot of space. And I don't know what they're going to do with that space. So that's going to be interesting. But I think what I've done here is I have spoken enough about it. I have nothing else to talk about. And that's pretty much it. My throat's getting sore. And I hope you enjoyed this very wobbly episode of the GBG podcast. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Nothing else to talk about. I'm still getting used to this whole podcast thing. I know I'm like 7 episodes in. I'm not actually quite sure. It'll take me a while before I'm able to coherently organise how my podcasts are done. I don't really have a plan with it. It just kind of happens. My episodes, I don't have them planned. Like I said, they're not very coherent. They're not consistent. They're all over the place. I'm still learning. I'm not very good at it. I'm not very good at listing everything properly. I haven't time-stamped anything. I'm not good at that yet either. I know how to do it. It's just my brain gets a little bit frazzled when I'm doing new things. I'm much more comfortable when I'm doing a game review and scripting it all out. When it comes to talking on my own without a script, it gets really confusing. And I'm not going to start scripting my podcasts because my brain process is basically, if I'm going to spend time scripting a podcast, why don't I spend time scripting a review? That's basically my logic regarding doing podcasts as opposed to doing reviews. Podcasts, I could talk about all this stuff and just go bang, topic, get it out there, talk about the things I want to talk about, and then end it after an hour or so. But with this, with me, with the way my brain works, what I basically do is I gather all this information on the gaming world as it happens over the week or over the few days. I'll store it all in my brain, and then I will open a Word document or a text document, and I'll just splash it all out onto the text document, and I'll try and organise it in order. I'll list everything in bullet points, but that's as far as it goes. When I start the podcast, I never go in order. I just try and like go from one topic to the other in a way that sounds like I am segueing from one topic into the other, and I'm not very good at it. I'm still learning, but I'll probably improve the more I do it. But the podcast thing, I'm trying my best. I really am trying my best. I'm not good at it at all. I'm much more used to scripting things, and this is very unscripted. So, yeah, if you've got any feedback, please, for the love of Christ, put it in the comment section, and I'll try and improve on the next episode. But until then, Thanks very much for taking the time to listen to this episode of GBG Podcasts. This has been Dave talking to you on GB Gaming, where video games come first. Thanks again. Happy Halloween. Please stay safe during these tough times, and I hope to hear from you again or see you again or whatever. I hope to just do well for yourselves. That's it. Thanks again, and I'll see you later. Goodbye.